Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode number 347. My name is Jason Robertson, owner of Outdoor Legacy, one of your co hosts here on the podcast. If you are watching this right after it came out, then happy belated Merry Christmas to you. This is coming out on one day, the 26th, or right after Christmas. So again, Merry Christmas to you if you're watching this and it's in August and it's about 110 degrees. We're sorry about that. But Hans, welcome to the show and have Merry Christmas to you too.
Yeah, I hope y'all had a good Christmas. And I tell you, there are a lot of night hunters out there that probably got some good gifts from Outdoor Legacy because I talked to a lot of husbands and wives that were buying gifts for their spouses. So that's if you got a thermal scope or a night vision scope under the tree, your partner really loves you. So just keep that in mind when it comes down around for birthday gifts and that kind of stuff. But thank y'all. So we always start the show this way. If you are interested in buying a scope from Outdoor Legacy, please give us a call, 877-350-1818. We would love to bet your business. We don't expect it. We will earn it, but you got to give us a call. And I'm going to throw this out there, Jason. This is unscripted. I love our audience. I love y'all. Absolutely. I feel so blessed, overwhelmed by all the outpouring support of the show. And for all of you call, so many people that call into Outdoor Legacy to talk to me or Jason or Garrett, talk about, oh man, I watched the show and love it. But I will say this, we love you, but we get so many calls this time of year that we would love to help everybody, but we can't. We can only help people that have bought their scope from Outdoor Legacy, or if people that are wanting to buy their scope from Outdoor Legacy. So if you purchased your scope from another dealer or from wherever place that you purchase it from, no hard feelings. We still love you, but we cannot take all of those service calls because the people call in and say, I bought my scope somewhere else, but I know y'all know everything about it. So can you help me? We wish we could help everybody, but we can't. Jason and Garrett and I are taking probably more calls than we can handle on a daily basis right now. And we're truly blessed because of it. We wish we could help everybody, but we can't do the customer service for all of these other companies. What you got to think about before you make a purchase, if you are about to make a purchase, think to yourself, am I buying a scope from a company that if I had a problem with it, that I feel like they couldn't answer it because they don't know anything about it? So many people have called in and said, well, I bought this scope somewhere else, but I'm calling y'all because y'all know everything about it. But I can't call them because they don't know anything about it. Think about that before you make the purchase, y'all, because we test everything. We do all of the customer service, all the field testing, so we can answer your questions. This morning, early in the evening, early this morning, most of my phone calls this morning were service-related technical support.
For
And
people who purchased from us, we're happy
So
to help. Yeah.
anyway, this is only to say we love you. Thank you for watching the show. We wish we could talk to everybody, but we are exclusive. So if the girls call in, if you call in and say, I need to talk to Hans because I don't know how to run my scope, they're going to ask you, hey, did you purchase your scope from Outdoor Legacy? And if you say no, they're going to very nicely say, you know what, you've got to contact your dealer. And we would love to talk. Again, we love y'all. Thank you for watching the show. We would love to talk to everybody. But I think our customers and our future customers appreciate the fact, Jason, that we are dedicating our time to you, to our customers, existing and future. Anyway, 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacy.com. Thank you, Jason.
All right, guys. Hans would not have to say that if I didn't know he was going to say it. He would not have said it if it wasn't a giant issue. So it's
347
huge,
issues, episodes, and yeah.
There's just a huge amount of phone calls and emails
we love y'all.
coming in a day. Yeah, we love you, but we can't do the customer service for these big box stores.
And please don't get mad at the girls.
No,
please don't, because it's not them. They're not trying to. It's just we can't. We're getting hundreds.
We don't have
of
enough hours
in
the day. That's the whole thing right there. Yeah. All right, guys, let's roll on. We've got a topic today. And I think this is going to ruffle feathers, maybe more than what you just said. What you just said is only going to ruffle feathers for people who bought somewhere else. But this is I don't want to say sensitive topic, but it's very, very timely. And Hans and I felt like we had to do this show right here. This is the last show of 2024. So the next time we see y'all, good Lord willing, it's going to be 2025. So it is so important. We're going to end the year with it. It's important enough that we could have started the year with it. Let me explain kind of what's going on. As we've seen this shift down in thermal pricing, which is a good thing for the consumer. Prices are getting less expensive, quality's going up, so there's it's a good mix. But we're seeing for the first time a lot, several thermal scopes, quality thermal scopes that are 640 high resolution that are breaking that $3,000 barrier, and they're getting down there into the 3,000 and under price range. And that is very attractive. There's a whole lot of guys, Hans, I know you've heard this over the years from people say, this is while they're maybe buying a 2,500 or a $3,000 scope and say, man, I'd love to have 640 one day, but I'll never be able to own one. And that's when 640 thermals were all 5 and 6,000 and up. And so it just seemed like that would never be attainable. Now guys are like, wait a minute, I paid more for my 384 resolution than this 640. So it is exciting. And a lot of guys are jumping on these. Now, here's where this kind of becomes an issue. We're talking to a massive, massive amount of guys on the phone who are wanting to buy one of these 640s, but it's the wrong scope for them. And then when we kind of get into the discussion, the explanation, some guys are like, oh, didn't think about that, didn't know that, didn't understand how that works. That makes sense. After we've talked to them about how they're going to use it, we realize it's the wrong scope for them. And they go, okay, understood. Other guys are like, yeah, but I want 640. And we're like, but this isn't the right scope. And we'll sell you whatever you want, but we want to be sure that's what we do, is that we're not here just to sell you a scope. We're here to sell you the right scope for your application. At the end of the day, if you want to buy a scope that, Hans or Garrett and I disagree is not the right scope for you, it is still your money. We're not going to belittle you. We're not going to berate you. We're going to say, oh, hey, end of the day, your choice. We still want your business. Love to help you with it. So I want to be clear on that. We're not here to make fun of you or embarrass you if you want a different scope. But what we do want is to make sure you understand what you're getting before you get it, because we have had the issue, and I have been seeing this on social media as well. A lot of the guys aren't our customers, but they just kind of surfed on somewhere, bought a 640, and then they realize it was the exact wrong scope for them, and now they don't know what to do because they've got a $2,500, $3,000 scope. It's not right for them. So that's the premise of this show. And what I want to, you're just like, well, how could it be wrong? So I'm going to explain what's going on right now. Again, this show is at the end of 2024. This could be wildly different in 6 months from now. And heck, it might be different in a month. Who knows the way this changes? But right now, if we take the quality thermal brands, which is, AGM, Pulsar, Rix, Infrared Outdoor, Noctix. These are your big quality top brands that you're going to see us talking about here on this show. I'm going to name some names here, okay? Because we're not belittling any brand or talking bad about them or their scope. But right now, and we'll get to those scopes in a little bit, there's 3 optics that we're selling and recommending and love that are 640. They're a 2-power base magnification. So the optical magnification through the lens is a 2-power. And they're right now, with a couple sales going on, $25.99, $27.99, and $29.99. So 3 scopes crammed in there, about $300-$400 apart, under $3,000 right there at that mark. And they're very popular right now, and for good reason. They're great scopes. We picked one of these as our favorite scope, under $3,000 for 2024 in our best of series. But, and I promise I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to bring Hans in here in a second, but I kind of wanted to set this show up and what the discussion is. So you go, well, wait a minute. Why is this wrong? What could be wrong here? Well, generally speaking, a 2-power base magnification optic is going to be better for guys that are taking the majority of their shots. I would say not only under 100 yards, but probably under 75. Once you get into that 50, 60 yard range, 2-power starts shrinking up, and most people want to zoom up. And so you would be better off starting out with a 3-power 384 resolution than you would be going to a 640. Now that's foreign to some people. And Hans is going to explain some of this in a minute, talking about the resolutions and why. I know there's some guys listening to this going, I just still don't understand. It's a 640. That's better. So the last thing, I've had a couple people on the phone that we were talking, and I could tell these guys were really all in on wanting one of these 2-power 640s, and it was the exact wrong scope. I mean, there's guys that are, one of the guys was shooting coyotes and wanted to shoot 200 to 400 yards on average. And I'm like, this is like buying a Prius and wanting to go, haul cattle to the sale barn for a living. Like, that's just not the right scope. And I could tell he was getting annoyed. And he was like, there's some reason you don't want me to buy one of these. And I'm like, I wanted to make this clear. Most of the time, we're trying to talk you into a scope that costs less money, which means we make less money. So this is not a money grab. This is not, they want to sell me something else, so they, make money. Not at all. We're generally recommending a less expensive scope that we make less money on. So I just want to be clear. This whole topic is really about, we want you to have our customer, the very best experience possible. We want you to spend your money the best that you can, not be surprised or be disappointed, be pleasantly surprised when you get that optic. And that is what we do at the Late Night Vision Show and Outdoor Legacy. Hans, jump in here.
I think the title of this show is why you should buy a less expensive 384 resolution scope rather than a more expensive 640.
That's a long title, but I like it. Yeah.
I mean, it's more accurately depicts what this show about. If there's one topic, Jason, that if you asked, what do you talk about the most every day when you're talking to dozens and dozens of people, it is this conversation right here, resolution versus magnification. And you are exactly right. We are having this conversation right now because there are some really good 640 scopes that are down there hanging around in the price of some really good 384 resolution scopes. And you have people understandably chasing resolution. Oh, it's higher resolution, so it's going to be better. Let me briefly break down the advantages of some of these this resolution and what it can do for you and what it relates to or how it relates to quality. So you and I, Jason, we've always referred to the 256 resolution as, 100 yard to maybe 100 yard ID range on a target, but more likely about 100 yards, especially if you're talking about a coyote-sized animal. With the 384, that's about 200 to 300 yards, so about double the ID range. And then from there to 640, it could be another double. Maybe a 4 to 5, maybe 600 yards on an even better quality 640 scope. But ID range does not translate to pulling the trigger, effective shooting range. So what the 640 does for you, yes, it gives you a little bit further ID range, but you're not going to be, I've not found anybody, even myself included, that has been more successful actually pulling the trigger and shooting a coyote or shooting a hog or whatever because they have a 640 scope instead of a 384 scope. So when it comes down to it, what's going to make you more effective is the optic that has the right magnification for what you're trying to do, where the goal here, and it's a fine line, Jason, that everybody's trying to dance, of resolution versus magnification. Getting an optic, the goal is to get an optic that you can really ID with and shoot with, but more realistically shoot with, where you don't have to raise the magnification that often. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to. The reason is because every time with digital scopes, the way they work right now on digital magnification, every time you double your magnification, you're cutting your resolution in half. So if you have a 2-power 640 scope and you bump it up to 4 power, you've removed half of your sensor pixels, and you're now down to 320 resolution. Same is true with most 384 resolution scopes work the same way. You're at 2 power at 384, then you jump down to 192 resolution. I'm terrible with math on the go.
You did it right. I was waiting to see what you were going to do.
I don't have my calculator handy. 192 at 4 power. So you can tell, I mean, you're removing half of your pixels, you're removing half of your picture quality as you use digital magnification. The image is going to get fuzzier and fuzzier, and it's going to be not as clear. So I will say this. You talked about, 50 to 75 yards, 2 power. 90% of my shots, I tell this to people all the time, 90% of my shots are under 75 yards, and I prefer a 3 power scope. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, because I like the target to be a little bit larger, that coyote or that hog or whatever. Now, if you're hunting in, like Jay said, tight conditions in the woods a lot of brush, a lot of cover, yes, you're going to want a lower magnification with a wider field of view. But I think what we're finding is this move towards a little bit higher magnification in the market in general. And I think it's for a lot of different reasons, but I think obviously coyote hunters are dominating the market now. People do like having a little bit more magnification. People like ourselves, Jason, that are a little bit older, like a little bit more magnification. So there's a lot of factors that come into play. But the way these work, whether, with digital magnification, when you've got that base magnification and you double it, you're cutting your resolution in half and you're affecting half of your picture quality. So what I tell people, if you get a 640 resolution scope and it's a 2 power, but you really need a 3 power or maybe even a 3.5 or maybe even a 4, if you buy a 2, you're like, man, all I got's 3,000 and I want this scope, it's 640 and it's the best. It might be the best in the base magnification, but what if every time you turn it on, you got to immediately go from 2 power to 4 power? Now you've paid X amount of dollars for 640 resolution, but you're only using 320 resolution of it. You're only getting the benefit of half of what the money you paid for the resolution. So I'm going to kick it to you, Jason. That's really what the focus is with digital magnification, and you can elaborate on that more, but really being able to utilize all the resolution that you paid for.
So very well explained, and I think you kind of got into something that we're going to talk about down here below, and we'll probably get
I did. I was trying to pull myself back a little bit.
That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. So, and if you said this, I've been scratching notes here. You were talking, and there was things like, oh yeah, I want to say this, and I want to say that. So I don't know. Did you talk about the 1024 and the 1280 dilemma as the exact same scenario?
I didn't,
Okay.
but it's the same formula. Yeah, same.
It's the same formula.
concept.
And so I was just going to make the point that this isn't just picking on 384 and 640. We've been fighting this battle a little bit as we now move into some 1024 and 1280 scopes. 1024 resolution, which is what we call, ultra high, resolution, HD, whatever. If your magnification is too low there, same thing. And I'll name a couple scopes because this is fair. They're both fantastic scopes. Is the Pulsar Thermion XL50. That's a 1024 1.75 power. And then we've got the Infrared Outdoor Bolt TX60, both 1024, but that's a 3 power. So we've talked a lot of guys out of the XL50 because it wasn't enough magnification. And when they touch that digital zoom one time, they're going to a 3.5 power 512 resolution, but they're spending $7,000 to get that. They could buy a 3 power 640 for $4,000 and be way ahead. And again, it's nothing against that scope because we've talked to guys out of the TX60 into the XL50 because the 3 power was really more than they needed. They were in close range, tight quarters. And again, it doesn't mean these scopes can't do two things. Yes, if you buy a 2 power 640 and zoom it up, you can still shoot longer distance with it. But we're just making the point, you need to buy the scope. I mean, Hans has said this on the show a lot. You need to buy the scope with the features and the magnifications. That's what you're going to use most of the time. And one of the notes that I was sitting here thinking about is there's a saying that I think is true. There's ditches on both sides of the road. Okay. So we don't want to get too far into one ditch or too far into the other. I can hear somebody in their mind saying, oh, okay, so I probably ought to buy a 4-power 384 then, right? Because magnification's what matters. Well, now hold up. I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't. A 4-power is a lot of magnification, and you start narrowing up your field of view. It gets tighter, it gets harder to find and maybe shoot those animals at those closer ranges. So that's a ditch on the other side of the road that you don't need to jump into. Doesn't mean doesn't mean 4-power is not good for some people. We absolutely recommend that for certain people. It is all scenario based. And so I want to mention a couple of these scopes because we're being vague, but not intentionally. I don't want anybody to think that this is like we're trying to dance around. So as an example right now, and again, this is the last show of 2024. This can all change. If you're watching this in the future, this may not be the way that it is today. This issue will still exist, but it may not be these exact scopes in these exact price range. But right now, we've got the Pulsar Talion XG 35. That's a 640 for on sale for $25.99. We've got the Rix Storm S6. That's a 640 for $27.99. Oh, these are all 2-power. We've got the new Knockpick Slim H35 2-power, $29.99. I think something else that needs to be said, and Hans and I were talking about this, and we agree that a lot of people understand this, but sometimes I don't know if they understand it or want to understand it fully. So these are high quality brands, high quality optics, 640 resolution. People know these companies for their great image quality. And these scopes do have good image quality, but I don't want you to be confused into thinking that these particular I'm gonna call them budget friendly 640s are 100% the same image quality as their much more expensive, I'm gonna say siblings in, the same brand that are up into that, close to 4,000 or maybe higher price range. So for instance, again, if we kind of stick with this, you take a Talion from Pulsar, their 2-power 640, that does not have the same image quality as their Thermion 640s, but with just less magnification. Okay, so it's not like the only thing changes is the magnification. No, there's actually an image quality loss there. I mean, there's a little bit. And same thing, if we go with the Storm S6 and you compare that to the Leap L6, that's 3800. The Leap has got a better image quality. We talk about the Slim from Knockpicks, 640. But if we look at the same optics in that, iRay USA lineup, of say the Bolt TH50C, the RH50 V2, the RH50R, the Ace, what is it? The R50, or what's the name? What's the model of that Ace? I already forgot. The H50R.
H50R.
Sorry,
There's just too much to remember.
So all these optics, you're going to say, well, yeah, these are just 3-powers or 3.5. They're the same thing. Actually, no, they've got a better image quality at their base magnification. How much is it? That's difficult to put into words. I mean, is it a percentage? Is it 10%? Is it 25%? It's hard to say, but it's noticeably better. So what I'm doing here, I'm not raining on the parade or insulting these optics, but I think you have to look at it and say, I'm getting a $2,800 or a $3,000 640, and that is fantastic. It's a great deal, but we still have the pricing still matters. When you get into that $4,000 or $5,000 price range in the same brand, you are going to have a better image quality. And a mistake, and this is a whole nother show that Hans and I are going to do sometime. I've been talking about this for a year, maybe longer, is why you cannot judge a thermal by its specs. And the problem is on paper, the specs will tell you these are the same, but they're not. And Right now, there's guys, their heads are spinning around and they're doing, what are you talking about? The specs don't matter because that does not translate into what an optic looks like when you put your eye up to it. That is all that matters. And the only way to know that is to put all these scopes side by side, every single one of them, and look at them in a dark field at night at 300-400 yards at animals. And I understand you go, that's not possible. I can't do that. That's where, and listen, I'm going to do this for just a second. I'm going to say, not just us, there are other good quality, independent, mom and pop type dealers out there besides us that will do this. They do test these scopes just like we do, and they can tell you. So I don't want this to come down to, well, if you don't buy it from Outdoor Legacy, you have a 0% chance. That's not true. Okay. There are other good dealers. Now I'm going to say this, they're not a dime a dozen. Okay. They're far and few between, but they do exist. And you need to talk to somebody who's looked at all these and can honestly, and that you can trust, say this one is better than this one and this one's better than that one. So I just wanted to kind of bring up there that's one of the issues. Now, Hans, I know you already kind of got into the 320 resolution is worse than the 384, but explain that. So I'm gonna ask this, a little bit of devil's advocate. So help me here, because I get this a lot from customers, and I know you do too. So the number 320, so 320 pixels, that's not much less than 384. So why, if I've taken my 640 and I've zoomed it up to 4 power and I have a 320 by 240 resolution, why does that not look just about the same as a 384 by 288 that's just looking straight through the glass optically, no digital zoom? What's going on there?
Well, if I was an engineer, I would be able to answer that very precisely. I'm
You
not.
got me. I took a drink.
Yeah,
You got me
so
choking over here. Well, we
you
know
set-
you're
I
not an
think you-
engineer, and I'm not
I feel like
either.
you set me up to fail with that question, but I
No.
can. So here's people are wise to this, and a lot of people understand the cutting of the resolution in half every time you double. So some of the justification that you hear, which understandably, I mean, I can understand why people would think this, but they would say, I'm going to buy this 640 resolution 2 power scope, even though I need a 3. But when I double the magnification, when I go from, 640 at 2 power to 320 at 4 power, well, that's really close to a 384 resolution. It's going to look practically the same. The answer to that is it's not going to look anywhere near the same. I promise you. An optic that has been digitally magnified, even if the resolution numbers come out to be close to the same, is not going to be good as an optic that's using its optical or base magnification. So it's not going to be really even in the same ballpark. And I know it's hard to understand that because we're talking about cutting the resolution in half and doing the math, but that's not the way that it works with digital and optical magnification. It's not going to be the same. It's not really even going to be close to the same. And I think you bring up the good point about can't judge a scope by the specs, because I get guys that call in that make these elaborate spreadsheets and have all of their scopes that they're looking at, and they have it separated by columns, and they say, well, this scope has a lower micron number, this one has a lower MK rating, this one has higher resolution at this, and so they try to make their decision based on numbers, and that rarely ever works out in their favor, because you just, like you said, you can't judge it by specs alone. But don't think just because you're buying a low base magnification and high resolution that's going to make up for what you need with the higher base magnification, even if that means it's lower resolution. There's an important decision that you've got to make. You want to get the best picture quality that you can get, but just as important as that is choosing an optic that has the right magnification for what you need. So Jason, that's where, guys are wise to it, and they're running the numbers and they're doing the math, but digital magnification is not going to equal optical magnification, base magnification, even if those numbers are close.
So guys, I don't know how many of you are still listening. We're about 30 minutes into this show.
I think we've
but
got. I think the listeners, while they're watching the show, they're calling their buddies and saying, "Hey, you need to go watch this right now." I actually think our listener count has gone up since we started.
I actually think
Prove me
they've
wrong.
probably said these guys are idiots, and probably
Probably
need to yeah.
Probably
So
right.
that's probably yeah. I'm going to Marketplace to buy a thermal on Facebook. So
Right.
yeah, is this 1984?
I'm not going to trust these
good?
guys,
Yeah.
but there's some random guy in the
Yeah,
Ukraine that told me to buy this other stuff.
some guy in India selling a 1984 Fleer.
Yeah.
Okay, so gosh, all right. So listen, guys, I want to put a wrap on it. Here's what I want to say: we didn't bring you this far, if you're still watching, to just say, "All right, good luck" in the show. No, I want to give you an answer. I want to give you a solution to this issue. And I've actually thought of, while we were talking, logically, I should have done this before if I was smart, another solution. So I've got a couple solutions for you. And I have this feeling after this show, we're going to like kill the sales of 2-power 640s for ourselves, and everybody's going to hate us.
Yeah.
But I want to be clear before I give this solution. If a 2-power is the right optic for you, and you may go like, after this, I don't even know. That's okay. Call us. If you're wanting to buy from us, call us. We'll help you figure out the right scope, whether it's 2-power, 3-power, 4-power, whatever it is. We're going to help you figure that out. And we can talk to you, ask you some questions. We can help you. But if you're like, well, I still think 2-power is right for me. I'm going to be shooting hogs at 50 yards off a feeder. That's what I want. Good. These are great scopes. Buy them. We're selling them like crazy. We're recommending them. They're still some of our favorite scopes, to be clear. So just want to get that out of the way. Now, what is the solution to this issue? Well, one solution that Hans is alluded to, and I've said over and over, but I want to just explain it in simplicity, is choose the right magnification for your needs. In one of my discussions with a guy the other day, this is the way I explained it. Figure out what your budget is. That is your decision to make. I'm not here to make it for you. I'm not your banker. I'm not your wife. I'm not your bookkeeper. I don't know what your financial situation is. You may have a budget of, $1,000, $500, or $10,000. I don't know, but you set your budget. Okay, whatever that is. And then you decide on your magnification. You may need help doing that. I can help you with that. Can't help you with your finances, but I can help you figure that out. Any of us here at Outdoor Legacy can help you determine exactly the magnification that you need. All right. Now, once you've done that, then you start narrowing down your scope. You've already narrowed it down. Because when you say, this is the price range, this is where I really want to be. Okay. And I want this magnification. You just got it way smaller. Like, we're now down to a handful of scopes. Don't say what Hans has kind of been making the point here. Don't say, I want a 640. Okay, I have to have a 640, but my budget is this. No, I mean, you know what I'm getting at? Like, you kind of getting the cart ahead of the horse. If you say, I want a 640, but my budget, it's got to fit in there to get me the right magnification and the right, all the other things that I need and want on the scope. So the solution is buying the right magnification. If that's a 3-power and your budget is $3,000, then that means you're going to get a 384 resolution scope. And we believe you will be much happier with it in real world use than you would if you'd have gotten a 640 that was the wrong magnification for you. Or the other alternative, which we're not here to talk you into, because again, this is your budget, not ours, is getting a 3-power 640 resolution scope. But that's going to cost you more money. You're not going to get it for $3,000. Right now, you're going to be up there in that $3,800 to $4,000 range, basically $1,000 more. But you're going to get, I promise, $1,000 more scope out of that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Not just the 3-power. You're going to get a better image quality. You're going to get a much better solution for your needs. Now, I told you I had 2 solutions. Okay. And this is something where It's not exactly a solution yet, but I feel like it's coming, and I'm liking this, and I'm saying this, hoping some of the thermal manufacturers are listening to this.
Yeah.
Here's what I think is coming down I hope coming down the pipe for us, and that is these dual base magnification optics, like the Pulsar, sorry, the AGM Clarion, where you have a 2 power and a 3 power. You have a, 3 power and a 4.5 power. It's two different lenses and it's all optical. You are optically changing your magnification. Now, those scopes right now are not going to solve this budget crunch that we're kind of in, okay? But I think long term, that solution can be there, because there's also guys listening to this going, well, sometimes I want a 2, sometimes I want a 3. Well, there's some scopes out there that are doing that right now. That's what they're intended to do. And I'm excited about that technology. And I hope that we can see this more and more and more over the next 2 or 3 years, where you don't have to make this hard decision. It's like, do I want a 2? Do I want a 3? Maybe I want both. Great, buy that scope and you can have both. That's what I'm hoping that we get to see in the future. So, end of the day, in the nutshell, if you don't know, I understand this is complicated. We're not intentionally trying to make this more complicated. We're trying to actually help people so that they understand before they make that purchase what they're getting. We believe thermals are tools for a job. You need to have the right tool for the job. And if you don't know what that is, again, you need to talk to somebody that can help you and take their advice and then make the purchase from them, whether that's us or another quality dealer out there.
But don't let that person walk you out into a parking lot and look at a car across the street with a 640.
Again, why do you do this when I take a drink?
Yeah, with a 640 or a 384 scope and tell you that you need the 640 because the car over there has a little bit more detail.
Or inside the convention center or inside the showroom.
Don't do that. But yes, if you are looking to purchase your optic, if you want to support the show, you want to support us, you want to support Outdoor Legacy, you can order from us. That's the best way to do it. We invite you to do so. You can call us 877-350-1818. You can find all the products outdoorlegacy.com. That's where all of the stuff we talk about on the show. That's where you can find it. All of our past episodes are on one website along with YouTube, but you can go to our website, thelatenightvision.show.com. And you can also find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, on Outdoor Legacy on all of them. Also Hans ETX on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube. And we'll be back sometime after the first of the year, right?
Yeah, good Lord willing. We plan on it next time we see y'all. Hopefully it will be 2025. And guys, don't forget, stay tuned to this channel because we are coming up on SHOT Show, which is going to be in about 3 weeks. We're already working with all of the major thermal manufacturers, working with them to get interviews so that the first day of SHOT Show, Tuesday, that morning, I don't remember the date, what that date is, but it's the week of SHOT Show. We'll be releasing a bunch of interviews, giving you all the content in one place of what is new, what is changing with each of those respective manufacturers for, what they're announcing at SHOT Show for 2025. So again, stick to the Late Night Vision Show. Guys, we really, really do appreciate all of you, all of our loyal listeners and viewers. It means so much. Here we are at the end of 2024. It's been a fantastic year. We've been truly, truly blessed, and we are excited about another exciting and prosperous 2025. Guys, hope to see y'all then.